We must change. That's all of us. And we always change as we live our lives. And the difficulty that we have in our lives, we experience in our lives or in our world, is when we refuse to change. When we come into the world, we have no clue as to who we're going to be. And so that is the process that we move through every day, is changing, accepting something new about who we are, who we have become. And when we do that, we start to live very different lives. We start to understand who we are. We start to appreciate who we are, and we move through that process. But we don't always do that. And that happens individually and collectively. And I've said, and I'm going to be the first to change because changing is about acknowledging who you are. Changing is about moving closer to your authentic self or the reason that you were born. You see, everyone was born for with a purpose, with a reason. Everyone was connected to God, to source, to whoever you think of. That's who you are. And so when we don't change, that means we're not willing to move to that higher state of understanding of who we are. And then when we have a whole lot of people who do that, then we have a world that has looked the way that it has in the last several years. And see, I knew all of this, but I wasn't willing to change. But I have to do that now. And what I'm talking about is all the information that I have received for the last 35 years, but also particularly in 2012, which I've talked about so much because that's when we had another change in our world, in our society. We move through evolutionary changes in our world all the time. You can study history and go back and see when that has happened. We happen to be experiencing one now. But we come to understand, because we've learned sciences now, we've understood so many other things. So now we know that everything is energy, everything in our universe, in our world, and within us is energy. We've discovered that as we live. And then certain people come around, they give us that information, they develop things, and they give it to us. Well, I took a lot of that in and I used it to create my change, my change in the world now. Now, it was difficult for me to accept it because I couldn't tell you that I spent my entire life developing something that could give you the ability to live the best life ever and to heal, to understand who you are, become prosperous, happy. But I'm telling you, that's exactly what it is. And I know that that's true. And I've proven it. I've written some things. You'll see that on my site now because we're changing things and you'll see exactly what that is. Because when you connect to your authentic self, that's when you have everything. Every difficulty that you will experience in your life, and I can say this because I did them, so I do know. I'm 73, so I do know. Every experience, every difficulty is because of your refusal to move into the next version of who you're meant to become. And it doesn't matter all the other stuff that you went through because I did that too. See, because that was learning. Every mistake you made, every failure, every difficulty, everything you experienced was part of your evolutionary path. And if you understand it and move beyond it, then you heal. And that's what I had to do. But that was the only way that I could create this work. Then I talked about synchronicity. We've talked about Carl Jung. We've known about that. He brought us that awareness. And then we start seeing it showing up. And then I had all of it in my life. And I've published several things so you would see that on dates I would receive information. So now it's July, it will be July 19th. I'm recording this on the 18th, but I want to just tell you what's coming up because we're going to move into another energetic phase where it's going to be really important for us to know what's happening because it might look like chaos. And I was given that message in 2012. And then there's a string of them on July 19th that I'll give you. I'll put it in a little link and I'll leave it in the description of the video because I want you to read it. We start to understand that as individuals, we evolve in our consciousness over time. We didn't go to kindergarten and then all of a sudden end up in high school. We learn things over that time. It's the same thing in consciousness of our collective consciousness of the world. That's how the world evolves, which is how we have different technology than we did 500 years ago. We have different things everywhere. We understand much more now, but we don't always utilize it because many times we're afraid to change. And that's what we're going to encounter. And so I'm going to read this message from 2012, and it'll help to explain a little bit. And I'll leave some more in the description because I'd really like for you to have that. And so you probably will feel this in the world a little bit. When you find yourself feeling somewhat uncomfortable during those passages of complete peace in your life experience, it will also indicate to you how accustomed and comfortable you have become with chaos. When you are accustomed to that chaos, you begin to believe it is a normal state, and therefore you continually create the same. Chaos itself is not real, but merely those times when you have temporarily forgotten the true nature of your being and attempted to disconnect from source. The experience of that chaos may take many different forms, either mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, but they all have the same origin. The process of expansion removes it from your experience. Now, you can see I received that in 2012, and I didn't incorporate all of it. It took me a while because that's the process. And I had to accept what I had been given, and then I had to wait for the results to show up. And the results were this: they showed up in me being healed. And I talk about my work in a different way because people say, why is it different? Well, it's different because I connected to the divine. And so I'm connecting you to your soul. I'm connecting you to your mission while you're here. We don't live in physical bodies forever. We must have something that we're meant to do. And I know every single person does. And when you listen to a Wilhelm channeling session, you'll hear that I can answer any question that you have with you when you present it because I'm in a different place. I'm not looking at your blockages. I can't see your limitations. I don't see any of that. I see your potential. I see everything that is within you. The work that I was given guides everyone to understand that within themselves. Doesn't matter who you are, how old, what you've been through, it's all the same. We are all consciousness, we're all connected, and we all have something we're meant to bring to the world. And when we don't do that, then the energies of the world do not evolve and change. And then we continue to create chaos and anger and hatred and all those things. And that's what we have seen and we might see a little bit more of now, which is why I have to change. So I have to bring more awareness. I knew that I was given something. Well, I was told that, but me believing it was a little different because, see, I had a dream in 2005 that I was supposed to bring in something to the world that would make a difference, but I hid it just like you might have hidden yourself. That's what we do too, because everybody has something particular they're meant to do. But see, I wrote it down and then I put it in a folder and put it in a closet and put it away so I wouldn't see it. So maybe I wouldn't have to fulfill it. And then when you do that, then your life goes a little crazy. You start to have all sorts of other difficulties, and I've done that. And the other part of me is that I had to try to help everyone. That's never going to happen. That's never going to work. And we need to understand that because we are going to move through a period where people are not going to want to remember their connection to source. They're not going to remember who they are. And so then that creates this contrast, but the contrast then gets us to choose. And what we're going to choose is to love ourselves. And I've put out several things, and you've heard this before, and it is absolutely true that we will only choose between love or fear. When we're choosing fear, we're choosing judgment of ourselves and others and hatred and all of those things. When we're choosing love, we're choosing ourselves and we're choosing to move to a higher state of understanding and consciousness. And the more of us who do that, then we start to see a very different world. But that's the change that I'm doing. And this is also why I'm doing my channeling session on Sunday. And I'd love for you to come to that because it will be a powerful one. We have a full moon and the energies will be potent and there will be a lot that will come through and you'll get a lot from it. But I'm also doing something else. I want you to look at my program because I'm making changes and I'm only taking a few more people right now because I have to change it all because I'm presenting this to by the end of the year, maybe, up to 1 million people. So I have to be ready. That's what happens for us. We stop at a certain point and then we don't fulfill the thing that we were meant to do because of fear, because we don't think we're supposed to do it, or we have the imposter syndrome, or it's not us. That's never true. And it's taken me all of these years to discover that. And I want you to discover it now. So if you're listening to this, please, if it's not for you, please pass it on to someone else because I want as many people as possible who want to become happy prosperous, successful, their best selves. I want them to do this work because you are the ones who will make the greatest difference in the world moving forward. Because, see, we're creating the world. It's not anyone out there. It's not any government officials. It's none of that. It's us as individuals. So you have to decide that the way you're going to do that and the way you're going to contribute is by becoming who you're meant to be. That is that journey into your authentic self. And that's what I've been given. That's what I'm giving you. So I invite you, please check it out. All right, see you guys soon. And again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that and leave comments, share it with others. I'm going to start to grow it a little bit more now because I've hidden out too, probably like you have. We can stop now. See you soon.